Chapter 99, Chococat. Suguru, do we have to do this now? Gojo grumbled. He dumped a load of laundry, warm from the dryer, onto Geto's bed. They'd slept in late, going out briefly for a bowl of ramen, before coming back to the dorm, where Geto insisted they tackle the small hill of dirty clothes and bedsheets that needed washing. Geto started hanging up some clothes and left the ones that needed folding to Gojo. "What other plans do you have?" Geto asked, straightening out one of Gojo's shirts on the hanger. "I was gonna take my boyfriend out." Gojo was folding some t-shirts and had his back turned to Geto, but the tone in his voice made Geto grab him by the shoulder. "Boyfriend?" he asked, pink coloring his cheeks. Gojo leaned in and quickly kissed Geto on one of his blushing cheeks before he had a chance to react. He started folding again while Geto stood, pausing for a moment, eyes on the floor. It was a strange label to put on what they had. They weren't boys anymore, and their obsession with each other went beyond friendship. They seemed too young to call themselves lovers. What would they call this thing they had with each other? Geto liked it when Gojo referred to him as his, mine. It implied possession, and if Gojo referred to him as something that belonged to him, he wouldn't let go so easily. Geto glanced at Gojo, who was trying to look busy, but his hands were moving clumsily, and he side-eyed Geto, waiting to see his reaction. "What the hell? Gojo's being shy," Geto realized. He laughed softly and grabbed Gojo's shoulder again so he could return the kiss on the cheek. Gojo tried to shrug him off, but Geto saw the smile on his face when he turned away. "Boyfriend is fine, I guess," Geto thought, "even if it's another secret we have to keep from everyone." Gojo tried to deflect his bashfulness by holding up a pair of navy blue boxer briefs. "You look so good in these. These are my favorite to take off you," he declared. Geto grinned and poked Gojo in the ribs. "Hey," Gojo pretended to swat his hand away. Later that evening, they boarded the train, taking the Chuo line to Shinjuku. The train cars were packed. Gojo and Geto hung on to the hand straps, pressing into each other as more people boarded. At one point, Gojo spotted some familiar faces from the school on the train, and when they all exited at Shinjuku Station, he and Geto decided to continue on the Yamanote line to Shibuya. They weaved through the lively evening crowds and waited to cross the Shibuya Scramble, where people crossed in every direction once the pedestrian lights turned green. Gojo dragged Geto into the first arcade he saw. Gojo scanned his card in the change machine for a handful of 100 yen coins and challenged Geto to every game that wasn't occupied: motorcycle racing, martial arts, basketball, first-person shooter. Gojo always found amusement with how intensely Geto played. He tended to scowl in concentration, pounded the controller too hard, and made faces when he thought he had an advantage in the game. He always cursed when he lost, which was almost all the time. He took it even worse if Gojo tried to throw a game and let him win. When the coins were all gone, they left the arcade to roam the streets, each storefront accented with brightly colored lights. Gojo wanted to try his hand at the claw machines, and they found a huge arcade filled with all kinds of toys, plushies, and prizes. Gojo withdrew 5,000 yen worth of 100 yen coins and looked around. Geto had a few hundred yen in his pocket, but nothing was catching his eye. Gojo tugged at his jacket sleeve and pointed at one of the machines with the larger-sized stuffed animals. They walked up to it, and Gojo saw a giant cat perched in the middle. "I want that one," he pointed. It was a Sanrio character, Chococat, a black cat with big round eyes, pink nose, wearing a blue collar. Geto chuckled. "Go for it." Gojo put 2 coins in the slot. He managed to maneuver the claw over the cat's head, but it was too big to get a good grip, and it slipped out and fell onto its stomach. Gojo tried again, grabbing it by the leg, only to have the claw come up empty. Gojo kept feeding coins into the machine with no luck. "Satoru, you're burning a hole in your pocket," Geto laughed. "How are you so bad at this? I'm surprised you didn't try to use blue. Try another machine," he coaxed. Gojo laughed too, but he didn't move. "No, I'm going to get this with my own bare hands. I want that damn cat." The claw grabbed onto the bottom half of the cat and looked like it was going to finally shift over to the machine opening, but the plushie fell at the last moment and they both groaned. Gojo reached into his pocket. He had gone through all the coins. He looked at Geto with an exaggerated pout. "Let me try," Geto said, inserting 200 yen. Gojo watched intently as Geto managed to grab Chococat. He dropped out of the claw but fell closer to the edge. Geto put in another 200 yen. Gojo held his breath as Geto scooped Chococat up by the legs and the claw moved towards the toy drop. The cat started to slip and Gojo grabbed Geto's sleeve as they froze in anticipation. The cat dangled precariously from the metal claw. They both erupted in cheers when the plushie dropped into the bottom of the machine. Geto reached inside the metal door to grab the giant cat and press it into Gojo's chest. Gojo hugged it and looked at Geto. He had a wide, unguarded smile on his face that lit up his eyes, the type of smile that Gojo didn't get to see often enough. He felt something catch in his throat. On the train ride home, Gojo proudly held on to his black cat, eliciting a lot of smiles and some eye rolls from his fellow passengers. Gojo had set Chococat on his swivel chair when they got back to the dorm. When they were ready for bed, he made a show of turning Chococat's gaze away from their bed before he turned off the desk lamp. "I don't want him to see what I'm gonna do to you," Gojo explained as he crawled on top of Geto. "What are you going to do to me?" Geto murmured before Gojo kissed him. "This," Gojo answered, reaching down to caress Geto between the legs. Geto was stiff and thick in Gojo's hand. He bit down on Geto's shoulder, causing him to whimper. "Do you want me to make you come?" Gojo whispered lustily in his ear. Geto groaned as Gojo's hand moved between his thighs. Yes, please." Gojo kissed him, open-mouthed, flicking his tongue against Geto's. Geto's breathing quickened as Gojo grasped him. "Satoru," he moaned as he felt his body give in to his touch. Gojo kissed his neck. "I can't wait to fuck you." Geto's body jolted when he came. His cum dripped from Gojo's fingers. Gojo moved Geto's legs apart and entered him slowly. He pressed his pelvis tight against him. "Oh God, Satoru!" Geto gasped when he felt him inside. "Wrap your legs around me," Gojo said. Geto did what he was told, letting his body rock with Gojo's movement. He dug his fingertips into Gojo's shoulders, slick with sweat. Gojo's breath was hot against his ear as he panted. "Suguru, I'm..." Before the words could leave his mouth, Gojo lost control. Geto felt Gojo's warm cum fill up his body. "Oh God, you feel so good. You feel so good," Gojo whimpered in his ear as his body trembled. When their breathing and bodies settled, they started to drift off, embracing each other, legs entwined. Geto's body and heart felt full of Gojo's love. Tears sprung into his eyes as he slipped into unconsciousness. Gojo squeezed Geto one last time before sleep took him. "I love you, Suguru. Thank you for that smile."